Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I am once again simulcasting on Rumble and YouTube, and I hope this broadcast finds you well. Thank you for joining me tonight. We've got more things to talk about. Oh, a surprise appearance on the national stage by the creepy Judge Boasberg, along with another judge who I believe they are conspiring to keep 20, 30, I don't know how many millions of people who have been imported into this country to permanently transfigure our electoral process, our number of representatives based on the census, and all kinds of things. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. What do I do, though? While I'm waiting for people to come into the chat, so I play some videos to give people time to settle in, get a cup of coffee or a cold brouhaha or an adult beverage, whatever you'd like to have. So anyway, I will play some videos. You all get yourselves ready, and then we'll be like butter and get on a roll.
This is one of the many reasons that the left freaks out every time Marco Rubio speaks.
One of the things I see a lot in South Florida are people that have been in this country that maybe came from Cuba 45 years ago. They've worked here their entire lives. They retire. They get $800, $1,000 a month from Social Security. And then they run into somebody who just got here from Cuba 3 months ago, 29 years old, doesn't work, and is given $1,500 a month in benefits by our government because they're refugees. A year later, is traveling back to Cuba 15 times. So you're a refugee fleeing oppression from a place that you now go back and visit 15 times the following year. And in the meantime, we're giving you Medicaid, food stamps, health care for your children, cash payments from the refugee fund. So imagine if you've been working here for 40 years and your Social Security check is smaller than the benefits going to a 28-year-old able-bodied person who just got here. That's real. That happens. That's happening every day. That makes no sense.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
I got to ask you this. When you talked about just in a city, people who cross the border illegally, that's what people call them. I want to ask you, how many do you believe you have in your city at this particular moment in time?
How many people that are undocumented or living in Minneapolis
right now? Undocumented. Yes. Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I couldn't. I don't really have a guess as to how many presently are here. I do know that I think that the federal administration just got it kind of wrong.
The one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. goddamn
storm zone. Yes, sir. I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
Now think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give President tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA resists enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time. He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he sees as enemies. Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. Thank you for joining me tonight. I do appreciate it as we travel down this long road to recover our nation, to restore our republic. It's been quite a battle, and we're still going on with it. I want to warm up some of my bombs in case I have something to bomb about. But anyway, I do appreciate, there goes one. I do appreciate everyone that's come to see me tonight. Let's see who all's here. Darla's here, Todd's here, Sissy's here, Tammy, Younger Gang, Rain's here. Oh, nice to see you, Robin. Cole's here. And let's see. The Search. How you doing? Nice to see you. I give abbreviated names sometimes. Sissy's here. Let's see. Wayne's giving me a thumbs up. I hope you all are giving me a thumbs up. If you haven't done it, go ahead and podge, Podge, that like button. Come on back in, and I'll be here when you get back. Hi, Lori. Just like everybody else, KNS Cleanup will be here. Elva will be here. Yeah, nice to see you. Let's see, Miss Mendersu. That's who I got my bombs ready for. There you are, yeah. You're not on the road. I hope you're home safe and sound. Sherry's here. Let's see. Who else? Don Rose here. Stanton's here. Nice to see you. All right, Kim's here. Pappy Two Bears is here. Strange Vibes. You never know. You never know. You walk softly and carry a big stick. Hi, Rebecca. So, just like Teddy Roosevelt used to say, and you keep your plans quiet. You don't let nobody know what you're going to do. Keep them all guessing. I like to when that one guy from the EU said, I'm tired of getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and seeing messages from Trump. That's what he wants you to do. Get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and feel miserable. Hi, Gary. Nice to see you. EDK, nice to see you. Welcome aboard. Nice to meet you, actually. Felix is here. Wow, we got a lot of people coming in. A lot of people coming in. Let's see. We got new people, too. All right, wonderful. So anyway, yeah. I was going through the regular gathering of information, what's happening. Hello to all my lurkers out there, too. It's okay to lurk. I'm a big lurker. I go on channels and lurk. Awaken Trillium, nice to see you. Yeah, well, they better pass the SAVE Act. I'm going to give a boom to Miss Mendersu. Boom! For her visit to buy me a coffee is a big help, but I do appreciate it. So anyway, Yeah, I wasn't able to put the link in the chats. I don't know what's wrong with that. Maybe they're restricting me again, finding ways to make sure I can't communicate or whatever. You know, they took away my link in the description ability, stuff like that. So they're playing their little games. Okay, have fun. We will continue to get the message out. And anyway, as I was going through my day, Tom Homan gave a press conference today talking about the surges ending, and they're moving the extra ICE agents out. You know, the left is celebrating. They always celebrate stuff that helps undermine what the American people desire or want to do so they can hang on to power. And I didn't get a chance to talk about it last night about John Kelly and his cadre of creepos that a grand jury did not want to indict them for their video they put out, which was a veiled attempt to have people have people in the military ignore the commander-in-chief. They dressed it up in a guise of free speech. So that I'm going to talk about, but also this Judge Boasberg and another judge that on two different cases, but you can see they're working on the same strategy. They're working, I believe, as we've said before many times, FISA works both ways. And exposing this business of Adam Schiff spying on senators, congressmen, nobody's getting outraged. So you all won't mind if the White Hats spy on these judges who are putting their little heads together, thinking of ways to keep tens of millions of people here with an illegal presence, which will fundamentally transfigure our electoral college, our distribution of House seats. In other words, transfigure the electorate as a whole. It is a sophisticated form of election interference, and to be put down in more earthy terms, it's subversion. It is subversion. And a lot of people would just say flat out treason. Flat out treason. I would like for these people to be called to account to the fullest extent of the law that's required, that's allowed under the law, the most harshest penalty available under the legal system for these people. And I can't believe that they are not being monitored. And we got a big show coming up. It's going to make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show. So now we're in the process of educating the general public. That's right, Awaken. Nothing can stop what's coming. I hope I don't get in trouble because you didn't alter that word. Those set of letters usually get you in trouble. Hi, Sue. How you doing? Or get me in trouble. Let's see. Oh, there's so much fraud, not just the Somali fraud. It's well, here Babylon B put this up. People haven't forgot about it, you know. Fraud suspicions arise as Somali team wins 734th gold medal at Winter Olympics. So, yeah, it's relieves tension to make fun of stuff, but also helps keep things in the spotlight. I got a lot of videos I didn't get to play last night where they were talking about this Keith Ellison. You know, And every one of these long-term senators, long-term House members, I really don't have patience for them because, come on, you didn't know, none of you knew that this outrageous behavior was going on. Bernie Moreno just exposed Keith Ellison. I'm wondering who. Now, remember, in the COE board, it says the first arrest will show the direction. A lot of people say the first arrest will shock the world, but it will show the direction. And so, I keep that in my little pea brain as to trying to predict who will it be. And maybe we're looking at the guy right now because Durham showed you charge people. You go to a grand jury. You show the evidence. You even have a juror say, yeah, he was guilty, but we didn't think it was important. So we said non-guilty, not guilty. We were talking about how many prosecutors were installed by Soros money. Attorney generals, prosecutors, the people that are supposed to hold the line in states, counties, parishes, whatever. So anyway, here, I think this is the one where Bernie Murray, I got a couple of videos of Keith Ellison. I'll play them.
To the country illegally, or you overstay a visa, should you be deported?
My simple answer is, sir, it depends.
Okay, so if somebody breaks into your home, should they be arrested for breaking and entering, or does it depend?
It's an entirely different scenario.
How's that?
Because immigration is essentially a civil, and breaking into my home is a criminal matter.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So if there's laws that should be enforced, so we shouldn't enforce civil violations?
We absolutely should enforce them.
But you just said that it's a civil matter, so it's different. So if somebody
you enforce civil matters.
So if somebody commits a civil infraction, it shouldn't be enforced?
It should be.
Okay, so they should be deported.
No, they should have due process that is associated with their petition. So
again,
for example,
so the act of entering the country illegally, you think we should say, well, did you really do it or not do it? It's pretty obvious that they did, right?
Well, I mean, it would depend on the facts of the situation, and then they might say...
I just gave you the facts. They entered the country without permission.
But, Senator, what if they had a good faith basis to say they would be persecuted in their home country and subjected to real oppression there? Under international law, there are provisions for them to make a case.
That's a phenomenal point. Mexico and Canada, do you consider those to be safe countries or no?
Generally, I do, but there are certain
generally you do? Wow,
well,
double talking BS. He's willfully violating federal law. The fraud he knew about, in my opinion, if they get, well, they already have evidence where he accepted money from people who were committing fraud. And here's another, who's that, Josh Hawley? Let's see what he did with Ellison.
Whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me. As early as 2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019.
Don't call me
whistleblowers came to, well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
Well, we'll see what you can do about it.
There you go. Maybe he's going to be the first one. And yes, maybe you should be in jail. No, not maybe. You should be. Certainly be removed from office for malfeasance at the very least. And then investigated as to how much you knew, how much you participated, knowingly acting in a way that harms our nation.
the $9 billion in historic fraud out of your state, including the $250 million in the Feeding Our Future program alone. You familiar with that? Don't turn to the pages in your book to get your potted answers. Are you familiar with it? Yes or no?
Yes, I am familiar with it.
Very familiar, aren't you? Because the people who ran the Feeding Our Futures program came to you in your official office in the state capitol December 11th, 2021, and asked for your help in getting investigators off their backs. They complained to you for upwards of an hour about state
Look at that smug little smirk on his face. Smug little smirk. So we'll see how long he keeps that smirk on his face.
investigators going after them, and they begged you to help them, and you agreed to it, amazingly. And we know you did.
That's not
because
true.
It's all caught on tape.
Yeah,
Every single sentence is caught on tape. Here's what you said. Let's take a look.
You
said, it's not a question. You said to them, send me the names of all these folks who are investigating them. You said to them, send me their names. And I'll take that list, and I'll call the person over at Education who is investigating them and say, what's going on? Why am I getting these complaints? Then you went on to say, I already have my team working on this. What day should we get together to discuss it again? You made pledge after pledge to them. You said, we've got to make sure this guy who's investigating them stops it. You said, you have my attention. I'm concerned about this. You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who were investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please. We're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help
I
them?
thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you
Are you
help
going to let
them?
me answer?
Why did you help
You
them?
let me answer and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good.
Let's do that.
That'd be a nice change. Why'd you help them?
Now see, Mr. Chairman, I didn't come here to be insulted. I came here voluntarily.
You came here for the truth. Let's have it. Why did you help them? The quotes are here. They're in black and white, and every member of this audience can listen to the recording. It's 54 minutes long. It's all in public. You can Google it right now and listen to it.
And listen to it all.
Why'd you help them?
First of all, I didn't help them.
You did help them.
No, I did not. I certainly didn't.
You're saying you didn't do anything for them. You didn't.
Well, wait a minute.
I already have my team working on this again. That's not you?
I have my team assisted with the information that led to the prosecution and conviction of these people.
No, you didn't. You didn't lift a finger to prosecute them. No, you did not.
No,
you didn't
because
lift a finger
it was a federal prosecution.
You had, BS. You had whistleblowers come to you as early as 2019.
You're the one talking BS.
Hey, listen, it's my time.
Doesn't know what you're talking about, sir.
No, sir. You now have encountered the truth and you don't like it. Why'd you take their money? Why'd you take their money?
I didn't.
You took $10,000.
No, that's a false statement.
$10,000 9 days after the meeting.
False statement.
You took $10,000. Here's what happened. They went to your office. They solicited money from you. They solicited help from you.
That's also wrong.
They came to your office. It was your official office. You met with them for 54 minutes.
No,
they asked you for help. You pledged it to them, and they talked repeatedly about money. In fact, it's all they talked about.
That's a lie.
Money, 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 money. They said, we will put our dollars in the right place. We will support candidates that will fight to protect our interests. You replied, that's right. They said, if you are securing your donor base and securing your power base, you can act the way you want. You replied, money is freedom. They said the amount of money circulating, I'm reading the transcript, the amount of money circulating in our community today is powerful, and we haven't realizing it in a meaningful way. And you said, give me the specifics. And 9 days later, you took $10,000 from people who were then indicted. It's in your reports. Why'd you do it?
Sir,
was it worth it?
You know what? This is a theatrical performance.
This is the truth. This is what accountability looks like, of which you've had none. You helped fraudsters defraud your state and this government of $9 billion, and you got a fat campaign contribution out of it. You ought to be indicted.
True. Well,
that's the truth.
I think we've made the point. Let's keep the tenor just
for the record.
I'll ask how I want to.
He's lying, and that's.
Yep. You dress them down. You know, what is it worth, though? What is it worth, though, to dress them down and halfway cuss them out, call them everything in the book, if nothing changes? You know, is he being laid out for the public to prepare them for his arrest? I don't know. I think it would be somebody in the prosecutor's offices in some of these states. And I got the volume up as high as I can. Clean up KNS. I haven't changed anything from last night's broadcast. Let's see. I saw somebody new come in. It was Graybeard. Hi, Graybeard. How you doing? I hope I got everybody. Trying to. But anyway, you know, I could have got a clip of this idiot. But you know, somebody is, the Daily Signal put this thumbnail up. There's people that are well trained in propaganda, well trained in picking out the exact words. He gave a press conference where he was the victim, of course, and the federal government owes money for what they've done, the hardship they brought upon Minnesota, especially the Leering Center. He didn't put that in there, but I'm putting it in there. You know, it is such an obnoxious but effective strategy for them to accuse others of what they've done and make themselves a victim. Billions and billions of dollars underneath his watch has gone out of the state, out of this country, right, and out of the taxpayer's pocket, and then have the gall to stand there and say that that the federal government has harmed them economically, and he accuses, of course, the ICE agents of murder. It's just disgraceful. And telling ICE, and you might as well say Tom Homan, I'll help you pack your bags to leave. Of course, Tom Homan came up and gave his press conference winding down Minnesota enforcement surge. Homan touts its major gains. So what's his strategy? He did this just prior to the vote on Department of Homeland Security funding. Roland, how you doing? And you know, part of it was to temper the situation so people would feel more comfortable voting for Department of Homeland Security. But I don't think that's the complete strategy. I think it's part of the reason. He said every single sheriff and every police chief he talked to was on board with cooperating, turning over. People that were in jail that had orders of deportation. That is going to save so much time. The surge force is not needed. There's still thousands of ICE agents that are going to be working every day. Every day. Just like what has always been going on. I don't know if you got to see them, but there are videos of local police forces and sheriff's forces who have been busting up these parties where they come to the hotels to aggravate ICE agents, where they come out in the street blowing whistles and raising hell. There have been a number of arrests. One was 160 people. They were just told, get on the ground. You're under arrest. If they tried to run away, they pursued them. So I think there was a large number of sheriffs that did want to help. Also, for the ones that didn't want to help, they may have got a phone call. They may have got a phone call about their oath to the Constitution, and maybe a little lesson on what happened in 1860s when local law enforcement resisted the federal government. An actual armed, separate army went against the federal government. So, you know, there's ways to get people to see the light. But I think there were a vast majority of people in charge. We were watching a couple of local police chiefs that are, I believe, true believers that have no business in their position. But the vast majority of people around the state are cooperating. But that's not all the strategy. I'm not promising anything. I'm not making a prediction. I'm saying it is my hope. Because I look at the comments. Sometimes I can't because I'm talking, but yeah, I'm sick of it too. A lot of people are sick of it and saying, okay, this is a time to educate people. And we want to get to the good part. And, you know, when are people going to start getting arrested? I think when we get this legislation through, especially the SAVE Act, when we get the government back open for an appreciable amount of time, I think we're going to see something happen. And I'm thinking, if it's not Minnesota, it's going to be Arizona, where Tina Peters is in jail. My dad told me many times, I've mentioned it on this broadcast, when things get quiet, that's when you got to watch out. Get them, let their guard down. Let them think they had a nice victory. If something happens, they can't say it was Tom Homan's fault, that Tom Homan's running around causing or playing a part in anything that's going on. He's going to be above the fray. And backing out of Minnesota, letting the enemy get their guard down and let them get their confidence up, you might see something happen. The other thing is, even though they didn't pass Department of Homeland Security funding, as a lot of people pointed out, they're hurting FEMA, they're hurting the TSA officials, because ICE has got plenty of money. That's all been approved, and that's not what's part of the issue. They're trying to tie Kristi Noem's hands in what ways they can. And maybe Homan might be using some of these extra ICE officers that aren't needed. Hey, hang out at the airport. Help with the TSA because they've been defunded. A lot of other agencies that are being defunded that would interact with people who are coming to this country illegally. Kill two birds with one stone. But Tom Homan lowers his profile, gets out of the fray. You got people like Ellison, who is demonstrably corrupt, along with Frey, along with Tim Walsh, where there's no question that they knowingly participated or allowed massive historic amounts of fraud and theft, and at the same time participated in this conspiracy to transfigure the electorate of this country in a manner that's unlawful, to subvert our electoral process. And how much are they going to find out, especially with these judges? How much were they involved with the overthrow of Donald J. Trump and subsequent events where they tried to put him in jail? So anyway, it's a huge conspiracy. It's a huge conspiracy. And where we strike first will be the most important strike. And I had a friend of mine told me a long time ago, like playing football, you don't run straight at somebody. You take them from the side or the back where they can't predict what's going to happen, or they're off balance You get them by surprise. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. But we have to have relative calm as we enter into these very momentous votes that are coming up. The SAVE Act, I took issue with it because what did I say? You can gauge the corruption of a society by the redundancy of its laws. Why the hell do we have to pass an act of Congress to exclude people who are non-citizens from voting? It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for an act of Congress to tell states that they have to verify citizenship when they've been showing that they're more than willing. You even have one mayor. Does anybody know in the chats who I'm talking about? It's in California somewhere. He's a mayor. Turns out he's not even a legal citizen. He's an illegal alien. He's been a mayor. He's voted in federal elections, state elections, local elections for years. And he's one of many. So we have people that are demonstrably, openly, and notoriously undermining the laws of the United States, breaking the laws of the United States, committing felonies, committing treason, sheltering and harboring illegal aliens. And it's rampant. And they're inciting violence, and they're inciting public hostility. They're even using kids to do it. We got to pass a law for every little dopey strategy they come up with. Say a parent is feeding a child dog dung. Well, you'd lock them up and you charge them with abusing a child, right? Well, the mentality now is, well, there is no specific law that says you can't feed your kid dog dung. 3 out of 4 woke scientists say it's good for you. It's insanity. It's the type of mentality that led to the transgender explosion, which has led to the explosion of assaults like what happened in Canada. I'm just looking through the chats real quick. Yeah, I hope the Trump card's incoming, but what is going to happen with the SAVE Act? What is going to happen with the SAVE Act? I mean, if that's what it's got to be, that's what it's got to be. We got to do extra laws on top of laws, or we got to make laws about common sense things that shouldn't even be an issue. We've already got laws about harboring illegal aliens. Then you get into the AutoPen situation. I had in my thumbnail last night, counterfeit citizens. Well, you have counterfeit refugees also. You had Mayorkas allowing these people to come in. You had some entity signing with an AutoPen the orders to give parole to people who should have never set foot in this country. By the millions and millions, these people are criminals. These people were knowingly usurping the authority of the President of the United States when they knew he was either incapacitated or unavailable, and took it upon themselves to push through these orders. Now, these judges, these senators, all of them, people have been in Congress for a long time. People who have been on the bench for a long time. The greatest marketing scam in the world is socialism being sold as liberalism. You'd have to be blind, deaf, and dumb to not see what's going on. Either that, or you have to be a citizen who is stuck on a hamster wheel and don't have time to dissect everything that they do. Every nefarious thing, conniving thing they come up with. Every conniving narrative they all put in the Mockingbird media. You have generations of people who were raised to trust the news, to trust teachers, to trust law enforcement. And they've infiltrated all three of the institutions I just mentioned. And they all behaved with malicious intent against our Constitution and our way of life. But people on a hamster wheel don't see it coming and don't think that people would be that evil. When they said stay home, stay safe, they thought they really meant for your well-being. They do not have your good in mind. They don't have your good in mind. Oh, they want me to take this shot in my arm because they care about me. No, they don't. Pharmaceutical companies want to make billions. They don't know what the hell whatever they concocted will do to you in the long term, and they don't give a damn. And if it plays into the politicians' need to create a scenario that allows them to cheat in elections, they'll have you get poked 15, 20 times. They don't give a damn. And it's all being backed by a cadre of people who can't stand humanity anyway. The more people that cork off to them, the merrier. They have no thought in their mind for what is happening to a human being when their life is ended before they ever take a breath. They don't lose a wink of sleep over it. As a matter of fact, a lot of them sit and connive on how to profit off of that. How to profit. And it gets much, much darker than that. I'm going to talk about the Guthrie thing. Guthrie, because things are darker there than what people think, I believe. Things are not adding up. 2 and 2 is not coming out to 4. And there have been many crimes in the past that a lot of local law enforcement never had to deal with. Crimes that are so heinous, details of which the average person in the general public could never even conceive of what they're doing. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I tell you what, a lot of these politicians know about the crimes I'm talking about. A lot of people that are pulling the strings and the puppet masters know about what I'm talking about. A lot of them participate in it. What were we told about the Epstein files? That a lot of things were not going to be released that were under current investigation. And also matters that pertain to people losing their lives. Videos about people losing their lives. In other words, SNUFF videos. Much like what a lot of us have already heard about. Think the Wiener laptop, right? So anyway, It's a dark world, and a lot of people are being introduced to it. I don't know how much of this Nancy Guthrie is part of that dark world, but it certainly was an evil event. We don't really know what the motive is. Not for sure. So anyway, with the SAVE Act, what do you all think is going to happen? Are they going to force a real filibuster, you got to stand up and talk and then put it down for a vote, or are they going to get rid of filibuster altogether? Which are the senators that are going to screw it up on the Republican side, if it gets screwed up?
You're an American citizen to get registered to vote, and you got to show a dadgum photo ID to vote. And that ID, 213 Democrats used their IDs to vote yesterday. Nobody hollered about racism there. It's just ridiculous, folks. This thing is just about corruption, and it's about control. And the Democrat Party ought to be ashamed. I mean, it's just pathetic. That's not any way to treat people. We ought to have safe elections, and they are fighting us tooth and nail. Hopefully we can get enough votes in the Senate, and it'll happen. I believe Leader Thune is on the right path, getting it there. And our sponsors, Chip Roy and the House, did a great job. We passed it 3 dadgum times. And now the Senate, Senator Mike Lee, I was with him last night at supper, and he's the man. I'm a fan, big time. So anyway, let's keep going. Call your U.S. senators and tell them we need the Save America Act today.
Not a lot to argue with anything that he said there. Not a lot to argue about. We were also told that there was going to be a shock to the psyche of the nation, of the world, really, that would bring a unity, that would bring people to the precipice. And that's when people change, when they face the precipice. So, how many people you think are starting to get curious about these dark things? I don't like talking about dark things, but we have to, because it's going to be coming up. Harry Anton's got a poll up. Too liberal. What is going to smack people out of this business of thinking, let in people from all around the world? It's the nice thing to do. Be a good person. We're on stolen land. Without a thought in their brain about the dangers, the dangers to our civilization. And what we're talking about is civilization as a whole. Like Donald Trump says, if America falls, the world falls. As CUE said, America falls, the world falls. The attitudes have to change. We don't have all the time in the world. Yes, we're getting frustrated, but as I talked about in a prior broadcast, people getting black-pilled is starting to increase. People are throwing their hands up. Well, what will snap them out? This majority of liberals that have gone completely off the rails, that don't realize the danger they're facing. What will it take to snap them out of it?
The results from that special election, that Democratic primary in the 11th District in New Jersey, speak to a larger point within the Democratic Party, and that is that the far left is significantly more powerful than they once were. This sort of gives the game away here. Democrats who identify as very liberal or conservative. You know, there used to be a lot of conservative Democrats, right? Back in 1999, 26% of Democrats self-identified as conservative. Just 5% said that they were very liberal. It was a smidgen. Now that far left has gained considerably in power. Look at this. Now we're talking about a fifth of Democrats. 21% say they're very liberal. That conservative part of the Democratic Party, adios amigos, goodbye, just 8%. And when you combine the 21% who are very liberal with those who say that they're somewhat liberal, we're talking about 3 in 5 Democrats who identify as either somewhat liberal or very liberal, with the very liberals, but much larger portion of the party. The far left, which used to just be a smidgen within the Democratic Party, has gained considerable power, as you saw in New Jersey's 11th district.
What about Democratic socialists, like the likes of, you've got Bernie Sanders or Zoran Mandani here in New York City? Where does that line up?
Okay, so on a separate question where you essentially, CNN asked this last year, which was, okay, Democrats who think of themselves as Democratic socialists, among all Democrats, including those independents who lean towards the Democratic Party, look at this. We're talking about a third of all Democrats who identify as Democratic socialists. Bernie Sanders and Zoran Mandani are not alone. They are a considerable part of the Democratic base at this point. And more than that, if you look at Democrats under the age of 35, they are nearly half of the Democratic Party. Look at this. 42% of Democrats think of themselves as Democratic socialists under the age of 35, just like Zoran Mandani. What happened in New York City is not some aberration, right? It is not something that just happened in New York City. It is something that we are seeing grow within the Democratic Party at this particular point, when we're talking about 42% of Democrats under the age of 35 identifying as Democratic socialists, and a third of all Democrats. My goodness gracious.
So if the ideology of the Democratic Party is shifting or changing, how are people feeling about it?
Okay, so we're talking about the Democratic base, right? But what about all Americans, right? How about all voters? Voters who say the Democrats are now too liberal. Look at this percentage. It was 42% in 96, 48% in 2013, now 58% in 2025 of all voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. The Democrats are moving to the left, the far left is gaining power, and there could be some electoral repercussions, because what we see right now is voters, the clear majority, say that they are too liberal.
This is really interesting. Thanks so much, Harry.
Thank you.
Yes, a clear majority see him as too liberal. But what's disturbing is that under the age of 35 on the Democrat side, being for, they're calling it progressive and socialist. It's communism, easily, just tell it like it is. And that is the result of a captured education system where we have had lunatic liberals and Marxist teachers having to run and poisoning the minds of children, stolen land narrative and crap like that. Here's a video. I can't put anything in the chat. My keyboard comes up, but it won't allow me to put things in there. I think I've been prevented from entering things in the chats. Another feature, I guess, on Utizzle that I'm being restricted on. But I will say this is a totally viewer-supported broadcast, and I appreciate everybody who went to buy me a coffee. If you go to Buy Me a Coffee, Mountain Man, you'll see Walk Through History with Me. You'll see that in the Google search, and my account has the silhouette of Donald Trump in the bat signal. That's how you know you got to the right Mountain Man. But here is a kooky parent helping their child make filthy mouth signs against ICE because they're going to take the day off from school. And protest ICE. That's why we pay so many billions in tax dollars to the education system, is to undermine federal law enforcement.
Christy Noem is a bird-legged hoe. I said Christy Noem is a bird-legged hoe. Oh, Christy Noem is a bird-legged hoe. That hoe has got to go. Christy Noem is a bird-legged hoe. Come on. Christy Noem is a bird-legged hoe. Hey. Christy Noem is a...
Yeah, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Why would somebody go into public service to be attacked like that, have people make up songs? And I tell you what, there's one parent that is going to sue. Going to sue. He considers what happened with his child to be abandonment. His child was exposed to dangerous activities. People being arrested, people being roughed up, and he's going to sue. And I got a video of a, let me find it. It is, where did it go? It is some people, oh, it must not have uploaded. Is what right, Graybeard? It probably is right, whatever I said. Ha ha ha. Oh, here it is. Now, this has got music in it. I'll play the first bit of the music so you know what song's being played. But these are kids who took the day off from school at their teacher's behest and the school administration's behest, and they decided to get physical with the police, and it didn't work out very well. So I would say that any parent that had a child get arrested, injured, thrown to the ground, sue their eyeballs out of their head. So anyway, let me see if I can cut this music off. I'll do my best. I don't want to get a strike. I don't know if you got to figure out which song they were playing or not, but the button won't cooperate with me all the time. But here they are. And you see one kid, he's standing next to the cops, and the cops are telling him to get away, and he's constantly getting closer or not going backwards. He should have ended up on his rear end, too. These kids, I tell you what, more I see this kind of stuff, compulsory military service, some type of discipline needs to be imposed. We got way too many kids running wild with this crap. But anyway, yeah, sue their eyeballs out of their head. So anyway, what's this one? Wait a minute. Let me see what this video is. Oh, this is the type of people they want to keep in this country. Judge Boasberg and that other nitwit. I'll talk about them right after this video.
Juan Reza is being charged with manufacturing cocaine near a Gerald Elementary School. The Williamson County Sheriff's Office says its organized crime unit was investigating a drug trafficking operation which led to the Monday arrest of Reza in the 800 block of County Road 307, just 100 feet away from an elementary school. During the arrest, detectives reported that Reza was in possession of individually bagged cocaine and multiple firearms, including a stolen shotgun. Authorities also determined Reza was unlawfully present in the United States. As a result, ICE has placed an immigration detainer on Reza.
See that figure on the screen? You see that figure on the screen? That is a form of religion that is practiced in Latin America. Okay? And it celebrates mort, M-O-R-T, death. Okay? That's their spiritual guide or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty prevalent over there. Muerta, yeah. Muerta. So, well, in Italian, it's morta. So anyway, yeah, Rains, you all probably heard of it. So anyway, interesting that they highlighted that, but they didn't explain it, but they showed it to people. Introducing stuff. So if you all had a chance to watch Andrew Branco's show, now he said he catches some grief because he put a sombrero on this judge. And I can't remember his name. I said to myself a couple times, and I didn't write it down. I can't remember his name, but he is a Obama-appointed judge, and it was a big deal. He's just a few miles from the border. He was a sitting judge while the border was being overrun, physically overrun. People tearing down fences right in front of U.S. troops and federal law enforcement. People rushing the border, tearing down barricades and pouring across by the millions. He was a judge, and he has eyes in his head. That's what I'm saying. Knowingly allowing and participating in this unlawful invasion. The people who were in the Biden administration in particular instigated this rush to the border by using the powers of the presidency in an illegal manner. And this judge, unless he's knew about it. Now he's come up with, as you see on the thumbnail, a liberty interest. Even though the Fifth Circuit just days ago told judges that people who are here illegally are subject to summary deportation and they are not allowed to have bonds. Even with that case, he's ordered the Trump administration, in this case it was an Ethiopian, who the Biden administration, because I won't say Joe Biden, because I don't think Joe Biden knew what the hell was going on. And I think he was, just like Trump said, shot in the head. Who was that masked man? But he says that this person, and by proxy millions of others, because they had that temporary parole or temporary grant of entry, which was done illegally, since they had that elevates them. It elevates them beyond what the Fifth Circuit was describing, where they've used terms like equitable interest, okay, in the past. So now dream up these other terms. Remember that video I showed you of Judge Engoron saying, oh, well, if a higher court says the man in the red sweater did this certain thing, so you must do this. Well, what if I say, I think he had a green sweater? Remember that, folks? Remember when he said another tool they can use is the jury verdict notwithstanding. In other words, judges have the power to ignore jury verdicts. Judges can be disingenuous in their perceptions and descriptions of things to override or ignore higher courts, judges with that Engoron attitude, just like this judge has an Engoron attitude. So, if they get away with this, every one of these, pick a number. Some people say 15 million. I've heard some Congress people saying, forget that. It's at least double that. I've heard people say as high as 100 million, but probably 40 million. They all got to go through a court. They all got to get an attorney assigned. They all got to have a hearing. They can all walk around for years waiting for that hearing, and then appeals and everything else. It's impractical and impossible, and he knows it. He knows it. People like him, if the Insurrection Act is declared, he should be one of the first arrested. And I hope arrested for subverting, for subversion, for knowingly attempting to transform, transfigure, whatever you want, subvert our electoral process and defraud the American people out of their control of their own government. Just like Herman Goring was convicted of at the Nuremberg trials by Judge Robert Jackson, Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson. He was also convicted of, that was Kaltenbrunner. Kaltenbrunner was, one of his charges was inciting public hostility. So, you all know this SOB because of the timing. Right after this Judge Sombrero, this creature, the imitable Judge Boasberg, I'm going to get a screenshot of Bela Lugosi standing with his cape as Dracula and then put this thing's face on that. He's a ghoul. Today, he orders. Now, the Supreme Court it's already, you don't have jurisdiction over this stuff. But what are you saying? The red sweater's green, in your opinion? Is that what you're doing? Here's the news articles. Federal judge orders return of Venezuelan migrants deported to El Salvador under Alien Enemies Act. NPR, you're still writing stuff. I thought you all were finished. Well, good things come to those who wait. Fox News, Americans could pay to bring back alleged members of foreign terrorist cartel. That's the only article that is close to the truth. He wants the government to give them vouchers to be able to come on a plane and fly back. Mind you, we're talking Venezuela, one of the countries where we just had an armed conflict declared by the President of the United States, where we just did a military operation to remove Maduro. This is firmly in the area of the commander-in-chief and the chief of executive of the United States. And he has the gall to come across with this order. And this is on top of Judge Zenas, who has somehow managed to keep Gilmar Abrego Armando Garcia waddling around our country for all this time. Judge orders Trump administration help dozens of deportees return to the U.S. Judge Boasberg orders return of Venezuelan men deported under the Alien Enemies Act. This guy's a menace. He's a menace. So Judge Zenas, Judge Boasberg is using her verbiage in keeping Gilmar Abrego Garcia. He's using that as some sort of precedent to order these other people back since they got Garcia back. And her verbiage is a twisted form of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, Sonia Sotomayor, said that the Trump administration had to facilitate the release of Gilmar Abrego Garcia from CCOT. And further, the Supreme Court said that they couldn't force Trump to bring him back. They could only make the facilitation. Facilitation means to stand aside or to not hinder or to minimally assist, not to actually cause an action. You allow another person, if such is their want, to act. So, Judge Zenas said that the Supreme Court said they had to facilitate his return from Venezuela, which is not at all what the Supreme Court said. I went over that in detail. So did Andrew Branca. They merely said facilitate his release. Once he gets released from CCOT, if you can make your way back, deal with it when you get here. But nobody in the Supreme Court said return. Well, Zenas got away with that. And now Boasberg is riding that lightning bolt right into the ground. So, can they trace emails? Some of these attorneys that are engaged in this lawfare being involved? Some of these NGOs that are financing these attorneys? Remember, who remembers the name of the judge who very early in the case, the FISA case, he was on the FISA court and he had to step down. It turned out he had lunch or dinner, with the lovers with the FBI, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. He had dinner with them, and he supposedly was misled by in giving a FISA warrant. But he was removed from the FISA court, and he was a member of La Raza, a pro-Hispanic organization. No federal judge should be a member of La Raza, or a dual citizen, or a foreign-born for that matter. So this is endemic. These judges that are foreign-born, dual citizen, members of organizations that work against America's interests, sitting on our bench. And they are working together, colluding together, to fundamentally transfigure our culture, our electorate, and they need to be stopped because they're going to destroy our republic. They're in the process of destroying our republic right now. So, speaking of destroying our republic, and another judge, I'm not sure who it was. Look at this thing. What is it with these creeps? Why do they all look like Nosferatu, huh? Just in, a federal judge has blocked the Pentagon from attempting to demote and reduce retirement benefits for Senator Mark Kelly. Oh, a federal judge can screw with the Pentagon? A federal judge can screw with military law? Military protocols? Okay, a grand jury wouldn't indict him. But where did they get this grand jury cobbled together at? Martha's Vineyard? Judge blocks Pentagon from penalizing Senator Mark Kelly over video. Okay, so we have judges running the military. Okay, well, let's see how that works out. But that's another judge that is overstepping their boundaries. I'll show you a sheriff overstepping his boundaries. I want to check chats to see what's going on. Hi, WW2. Nice to see you. Yeah, you see the evil in their face. I mean, the creepiness just oozes out of them, doesn't it? But anyway, here is a stunt. Okay, it's a Fox News affiliate out of Minneapolis. So this sheriff is trying to do like Grady Judd, coming out, putting people's pictures up, and first time I ever seen him do that. I don't know who the sheriff is. But what they got was they caught a guy engaging in prostitution. And this sheriff, I watched him. He said, "Can you believe this? This is a guy that does background checks on ICE. And that's who we caught engaging in this horrible behavior. And that's who's picking out ICE agents." The guy worked for a bunch that does background checks on multiple agencies. Multiple. When you go to get a security clearance, when you go to get a job and they want to check your background, they send the information off to firms that do background checks. He's one employee of many who do background checks on multiple agencies, not just federal agencies, not just ICE, but for private businesses also. But what does the sheriff do? What was the comments full of? That this is the man that decides who gets to be an ICE agent. What a manipulation of the truth. What a damn lie. The greatest lies are half-truths. I would almost take the time to go wherever he is and the next time he has a press conference, just put my middle finger right in his face and tell him what I think of him. A disgrace to his uniform. Almost as bad as that moron I played the video of that didn't even know what branch of government a sheriff served. Thought he was on the judicial branch. Media manipulation. So, I was looking at the chats. Look here, Chuck Schumer. You look a little rough, Chuck. But anyway, here he is, walking down the halls of Congress. Schumer warns, passing the SAVE Act will make it nearly impossible for, quote, those guys standing in front of Home Depot, unquote, to vote in midterms. Who do you think he's talking about? The guys standing in front of Home Depot. Illegal aliens. That's who he's talking about. A Freudian slip. They know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get de facto citizenship for tens of millions of people who have no interest or concern for our form of government, for our principles, for our way of life, so they can keep their hold on power. Here's more media manipulation. Look at the picture they choose. That's ABC News. Always be commie news. Questions swirl over a redacted 2009 email in Epstein files with the subject line, Trump. They put this up today. They had the gall. They had the nerve to put this up today. What were we told? What is a fact? The fact is that Trump was mentioned 4,000 times in Epstein's communications because they were all conniving on how to destroy Trump. So now they find an email where the contents are redacted, but it was about Trump. Whoever the editor was that approved this go out should be arrested. No mention of Stacey Plaskett emailing or texting Jeffrey Epstein during Trump's impeachment. No mention in their article about the numerous times they were discussing on how to injure Trump, his reputation, destroy him, get him out of politics, keep him from running, how to remove him from office once he got in. No mention of that. This is slander by insinuation. I hope Trump sues their eyeballs out of their heads. But I'll tell you what. Who are these people? 2, 3, 4. Let me put it down here. Are these people? I showed a video where they were standing behind Pam Bondi in Congress, raising their hands. Here's 1 and 2. Whoops, come on, straighten out. Who won't straighten out for me? Oh, there we go. There's 1 and 2. You saw 3 and 4. Who are these delicate flowers? Victims. Like Massey said, nobody cares about the victims. Well, Christina Guaya cares about the victims. Let's see. She names names. Here we go. Every single Epstein victim that Democrats demanded Pam Bondi apologize to was an adult when they met Epstein. What Attorney General Pam Bondi called theatrics happened at the White House Judiciary Committee oversight session on the DOJ. Democrats engaged in an attack session on Pam Bondi over the DOJ's release of the Epstein case files that included 3 million documents, photos, and videos. At one point, Pramila Jayapal, the one who looks like she got hit in the face with a flat shovel, demanded AG Bondi turn around and apologize to several Epstein victims. However, Jayapal forgot to mention that each one of these, quote, victims were adults when they met Epstein. And remember what I said. How many times in this country somebody under the age of 18 gets charged as an adult? Just because you're 30 days, 90 days, 4 months, 1 year away from being 18, does that preclude you from being charged as an adult? Think about Chelsea Handler, right? Jess Michaels, you see her there. Oh, I'm a victim. Looking for a payday. I call them party girls. That's what I call them. They didn't mind it when they were riding around on jets with a bunch of beat-up old billionaires doing whatever they're told to do, getting all the good liquor and whatever kind of psychedelics they had on hand and food, and going to exotic places, acting like tramps as adults. They didn't act like victims then. Claimed she was assaulted by Epstein in 1992 at age 22. Then didn't say anything for 27 years. Who's prying these worn-out old party girls out of the woodwork to come in and put on this show? And that's what I'd call them if I was there. A bunch of worn-out old party girls. Teresa Helm claims she was groomed and then trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell when she was 22 in 2002, but didn't say anything until 2019. Where's the press on this stuff? Here's 3 and 4. Liz Stein claims she met Epstein and Maxwell in 1994 at age 21, but didn't know she had been trafficked until 2019, after she spent several decades in long-term psychiatric facilities. Ain't that awful? Number 4, I don't have 5 and 6. Number 4, Laura Bloom McGee claims she was an adult model when she was, quote, trafficked sometime in the early to mid 2000. So there's a half a decade there. You got to figure out when she was trafficked. She refuses to give specifics. Then Lisa Phillips claims she was sexually abused when she was a 21-year-old model and accepted an invitation to go on day trip to Epstein Island. Amanda Roberts, not a victim, sister-in-law of victim Virginia Roberts Guthrie. We know what happened to Virginia Roberts Guthrie, right? I put up the CUE posts. We're praying for you, Virginia. She's not alive anymore. very recently died. Sky Roberts, not alleged victim, brother of victim, Virginia Roberts Guthrie. So, no, the press doesn't report things right. Not nearly right. Let's see what Mr. D had to say today. Well, this was yesterday evening, I believe. A.G. Pam Bondi, under intense fire from the Trump-deranged radical left lunatics, was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that the President Donald J. Trump has been 100% exonerated of their ridiculous Russia type charges. Actually, it's the slimeball Democrats, many of them big donors and politicians, that have been proven guilty. Republican loser, sanctimonious rhino Congressman Thomas Massie made a total fool of himself yesterday, fighting aimlessly against a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity, almost clearly stated by his crashing job approval numbers in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. What's going on with Kentucky? You got Thomas Massie acting like a dingbat. You got Rand Paul being contrary and causing problems. And you got Mitch McConnell. Something going on in the water there with Kentucky, where a military hero opponent, Ed Galbraith, is crushing him in the polls. He is now in wacky Liz Cheney territory. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive. They only cared about him when they thought he could create political harm to a very popular president who has brought our country back from the brink of extinction, and very quickly at that. In fact, this attempt by the Democrats to take away attention from tremendous Republican success is backfiring badly. Maybe they should focus on their quest to open our borders to the world's greatest criminals. Have transgender for everybody, or get men. Oh, I cut it off. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. You get the point. I cut that. My goodness. Why did I do that? Well, nobody's perfect. Here we go again. Donald J. Trump. Relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. Well, now Judge Boasberg wants you to send a bunch of terrorists from Venezuela back in this country, pay for their flights and pay for their attorneys, and let them wander around. But anyway, we're dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Oil is starting to flow, and large amounts of money, unseen for many years, will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela. Marco Rubio and all of our representatives are doing a fantastic job. But we speak only for ourselves and don't want there to be any confusion or misrepresentation. There is a story about a man named Harry Sargent III in Wall Street Journal. He has no authority in any way, shape, or form to act on behalf of the United States of America, nor does anyone else that is not approved by the State Department. Without this approval, no one is authorized to represent our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. So what was this guy trying to pull? A story in the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, well, that's all you need to hear right there. Oh, here we got something else. This character, we mentioned him the other night. Remember, it was Rhino Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, who was massively behind his opponent in the previous election for governor, who called me to ask for help. I endorsed him, barely, and he won his race. Then he went on to modestly represent among the greatest people on earth, the incredible patriots of the Sooner State, who gave me unprecedented voting acclamation in all 3 elections, winning every county within the state 3 times and getting more votes than anyone who has ever run for office, including the late, great Ronald Reagan. In any event, we will soon have a governor in Oklahoma who knows how to accurately write a press release to the public, in this case, to state that I invited, not happily, almost all Democrat governors to the governor's dinner at the White House. Stitt, a wise guy, knew this, but tried to get some cheap publicity by stating otherwise. Anyway, I'll see whoever shows up at the White House. The fewer, the better. President Donald J. Trump, are you coming? Are you going to go? Stitt, Governor Stitt. I never heard of him before. But hopefully he will be part of the history's ash heap when all this is over. You know, I put that thing up about Venezuela. The Ruskies put this video up. I didn't get it uploaded because it's all in Spanish. Even the subtitles are in Spanish. Okay. This guy says the United States ambassador to Cuba says that they already have a Delcy Rodriguez within the Cuban regime to topple the communist regime and start Cuban transition towards democracy. That's a big statement. Cuba's going to fall. How much you want to bet? All right, folks. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Where'd everybody go? Did I miss anybody coming in? Hi, Mark. Anyway, let me see here. What's this one? Oh, clandestine. Most time, not always, but always put his 2 cents in once in a while. It feels like the left are ignoring the elephant in the room. Blue voters are overwhelmingly in favor of voter ID, yet 99% of Dem politicians are against it. Has there been any outrage from blue voters towards Dem politicians? Have they asked themselves why Dem politicians are opposed to secure elections? It feels like blue voters and mainstream media talking heads are refusing to acknowledge that the only possible explanation for opposing the Save America Act is to cheat. And if Dems are using illegals and mail-in ballots to cheat elections, wouldn't that mean democracy is an illusion? Wouldn't that disprove the entire foundation of the Democratic Party? They claim they do everything in defense of, quote, democracy, unquote, yet they cheat in elections. How does that make any sense? The Dems completely desecrated the sanctity of U.S. elections for their own political and financial gain. The Democrat Party is anti-democratic. How ironic. Hard to argue with that logic. What's this video here? I got to Senator Eric Schmidt. Let me see what I've got. Friday deadline to fund Homeland Security Department. I forgot what this one was about. Let me see. Oh, we'll watch it together. What the heck?
We're not going to make it harder for ICE to do their jobs. We're not doing it. And I will do everything in my power and I know a lot of other folks on my side of the aisle will do it too, to prevent that from ever happening. Because the American people saw what a disaster it was to have Democrats in charge of this country. We had a secure border. Joe Biden literally unsecured that border on day one. And we had 15 million people come here illegally. We're not going back. The American people saw that. They voted for President Trump. He was very clear about it. This wasn't a footnote in his campaign. This was a central theme. And you may not like it, but that's what our republic is about. For all the talk of saving democracy and sticking up for democracy I hear from the other side, it's all nonsense. If they actually believed that, they would respect the fact that the American people voted for this. They voted for deportations. And I know that, like, in the woke left world, it's a dirty word. It's not where I come from. Not in Missouri. People believe in common sense. They don't think you should get to break the law like that and get away with it. So, I don't know when, I guess we'll be back here in a week or something, but the reality is not going to change. No matter how much Chuck Schumer tries to villainize ICE agents, no matter how many times I hear my colleagues from the other side try to stir up people, it will not change this very basic reality. We have front-loaded money for deportations, and those deportations will continue, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, if you want to make a proposal to stop that, put it on the floor. You'll lose.
Yeah, they were wanting to put these restrictions on ICE agents in order to approve the funding for DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And he's letting them know, no, you're not going to get away with that. All right, here we're going to talk a little bit about this situation. Just in, a white tent set up at Nancy Guthrie's home. Investigators set up a tent at the front door of Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home on Thursday, according to newly captured drone images. Officials have not explained the purpose of the tent. Okay. We know very few things for sure. And we know that scenarios that people play out in their minds as to what was the sequence of events, the purpose of events, how many people are involved, nothing is adding up. Why is that? I'm going to put the picture of the one of the few things we're certain of. That we're certain of. And, a heads up, it's the stains on the porch. I got a close-up of the stains on the porch. We're certain these stains were there. We're certain that these stains belong to Nancy Guthrie. One of the few bits of evidence we have any certainty over. What do you notice about them? I've talked about it in the past. The drops are perfectly round. Perfectly round. No motion. Spatter. The center, rough center, shows fine spatter, which indicates, what does that indicate? It indicates a blow, a strike, a blow that causes spatter. very close together. You see the center of the spatter, and then it gets finer as it spreads out, which means the person was close. Wherever they were struck was close to the, or in contact with the masonry, right? Because that is a cobblestone or a patio block, whatever you want to call it. And the person was not moving. Now, the sheriff's department has got itself in a pickle, well, more particularly the sheriff himself. This stain apparently has been walked over. People were let in the house very, very soon afterwards. They didn't secure the crime scene for very long. It's the type of crime small town police don't normally encounter. People are asking about the backpack. It was full. Okay. People are not sure. Was it one person or many people? 3 people, 2 people? Or was it just the one? If he's going to rob the place, wouldn't he go in with an empty backpack or a bag? Why a full backpack? There are reports and images of a person with a backpack some distance from the house, walking, looking at the ground, purportedly for rattlesnakes or something. Is that the same person? There's no cameras in that town that record moving vehicles. How much is being held back? Yes, see, some people are saying it was the same person that removed the backpack, or the sequence of photos is that he came to the door without the backpack, then went back to the car and got the backpack. People are saying, yeah, no forced entry. People are saying the back door was wide open. Well, we don't know what time this individual was at the front of the house. But I think it's safe to say that she was removed via the front door. She was removed via the front door. Now, she could have fallen there and struck her head. Thus, you get the splatter. She could have been struck in the ankle with something or during a scuffle. Did she take her walker with her or cane? We don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know. But the FBI has got to crack the catalog open. What's the catalog? Different types of crimes that people aren't considering because, as I said, many times details of horrific crimes are not put out to the public. And I use the example of the notorious individual's last name was Fish. Fish. Remember Madonna singing fish fry, fish fry? Because a lot of people felt she was alluding to this character in the 1930s who kidnapped a child. And, well, be careful what I say. And I'm not trying to, be sensational. I'm just telling you the reality of criminal behavior. This was almost 90 years ago. And what did he do? Well, he committed cannibalism. And the records of that case was sealed for 50 years. People didn't know the details of what he did. And then they released his writings. He actually described in great detail what he did, and I won't get into it. But it's one of many things you would find in a catalog of crimes. BTK, the BTK killer, right? He went to places with a full backpack or kit, whatever you want to call it. The items that he needed to fulfill his demented desires. This person, another fact that we know, was in the house roughly 40 minutes. 40 minutes. That's an eternity. The BTK individual took photographs. People like Ted Bundy, some of his offenses were where they collected trophies. They posed people after their demise. They took pictures. A lot of people speculate what could have been in that backpack. Could have been a lot of things. Could have been cameras, the kind that you can still get that develop their own pictures, like Polaroids. Remember those? Also, video recorders that are not digital and have no Wi-Fi hardware connection or wireless connections to anything. They're just the type of thing where you can record a tape that gets put in a cassette that fits in a video, a VCR. They still sell those. They still make those. And there's no digital echo or trace. Do you know there's a huge market for those types of images, for those types of videos? A huge market. Did you know in the catalog of crimes, which is a huge catalog, there's a section where there are individuals who are very attracted to octogenarian people. One thing we know for certain is that whoever was at that front door was no brain surgeon. To grab a handful of plants and press it on against the camera, thinking that would somehow stick and prevent viewing, the person was not prepared, not savvy, hadn't thought anything out. Why ask for Bitcoin? Well, the other thing is we're not certain that is even connected. It was 3 days after, and the whole world knew. 3 days after the whole world knew this happened, was the first attempt at somebody to get a ransom. And there were multiple attempts by different entities, one of which was caught very quickly. He had no connection. He was just trying to get rich quick. How do we know that's not the case with this other group? They may be more sophisticated. They may be overseas. They could be from any country on the face of the earth, trying to grab a quick $6 million. They don't have her. They don't know anything about it. That's a possibility. But I do know the aforementioned catalog of crimes have not been publicly considered. But they happen. They happen more often than people know. And nobody ever did a grid ground search around the property. Do you remember anybody doing a thorough search of a mile from the property? A grid search in all directions? Keep in mind, Elizabeth Smart, very close by. She said she's not the only one where it turned out the victim was very close. Almost a stone's throw from the property. People said, well, he had to have a car. How could he move her? Throw her over your shoulder and walk? You'd be surprised how far somebody could get. This could have been an individual who wanted to do something ugly and sick to an elderly woman. It excites them. They had no plan beyond that. Certainly didn't have a plan on how to disable a camera. Pick up a handful of weeds and press it against the glass. And then decided to take the evidence with them. And what was in the bag could have been things that they wanted to use to assist them in their exercise of their fulfilling their fantasy. It's you know, I'm not saying it's the case, but I'm saying a kidnapping where you have a vehicle. I know the town didn't have cameras, but they're all over Hell's Half Acre. Many vehicles communicate with the internet. Many devices, cameras, communicate with the internet. Certainly cell phones. Unless they're withholding information about cell phone pinging, this person didn't bring a cell phone. That tells me it's somebody relatively local. And they can't take out the catalog item of a person who was going there to commit a R, and then the other part is ape. of an elderly person, and things went south. And yeah, until somebody does a grid search, a thorough grid search of the land within, I would say, a half a mile of that property, it wouldn't surprise me that the perpetrator arrived on foot, left on foot with her, and also, if it is a spending 40 minutes in the house without anything being stolen, obviously there wasn't a lot going on in there because a rather inexperienced police force, but still a trained police force allowed the house to be entered and released the crime scene. That much of the house was undisturbed and the scene was unremarkable enough to let an untrained person not familiar with a catalog of crimes that could be committed, it was unremarkable enough for them to release the crime scene. What was going on during that 40 minutes? A lifetime. If they capture images such as I've described, not in great detail, but you know what I'm talking about, they can sell those images for a lot of money. So anyway, just something to think about. This pattern, I think, is going to be, to us, it's perplexing. Spatter and then concentric drops, motionless body or unconscious person. But anyway, I don't think it's a hard trick for a physically fit young man to throw a diminutive elderly woman over their shoulder and start beating feet at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'm reading some of the comments. Well, Sparky, what one thing they brought up was that if he took that door camera, it may have been able to record sound. And he may not have brought his phone with him, Sparky. I doubt that he had an electronic device on his person of any kind. You smart enough to know that. Don Rowe, you don't know if he knocked her out. What kind of injury she may have had by the time they got to the porch. It could be where he just dumped her outside and her head hit, A lot of them used to bring their phones, but anybody nowadays watching as many interrogation videos, true crime videos, you'd be a lunatic to bring a phone with you. Everybody with a brain knows now that simply deleting your texts doesn't protect you. They can recover texts. They can recover photographs. They can trace the damn near the exact location of a phone at any time. And to spy on you, to listen in on you, they would have to do that in real time. And I'm sure there are some phones that they can go back in time. They can go back in time through the web. But I don't believe he had a device on him at all. He was, there's an old saying, people are just smart enough to be dangerous. Just smart enough to be dangerous. Hence the attempt to cover the camera up with the plants, which was futile and childish and stupid. It's something you would see a figure in a video game do. An animated figure in a video game would pick up something and place it over a lens, and it would stay there because the game allows it. And, that one perp they picked up, what was he doing? He was playing Nintendo video games. But he's not the only middle-aged person sitting around farting away their life playing video games. Why does it matter, Deb? Why does it matter? A lot of people are going on the notion that Savannah Guthrie may not have been playing ball, and this was a targeted thing. We have been hearing for the past 4 or 5 days that this case is going to crack wide open. But each day that goes by, it gets more and more bizarre. The facts and the puzzle pieces just don't fit together. Many professional law enforcement are saying that it doesn't appear as a kidnapping. And that's where my brain was at, but it was too early for me to start talking about this stuff. That you could have a person who is acting on their own, who had a fetish for octogenarian people, and then you think about past crime, even Kohlberger, the most recent case. They had in evidence where his how to word it his interest, one of his interests were people who were incapacitated, unable to move, or take it another step further, people that were no longer alive, but at the very least, incapacitated, unable to move, paralyzed, was something that I'll say greatly interested him. So, these people, BTK, Ted Bundy, Brian Kohlberger, all of them had a morbid, ghoulish, bizarre interest beyond the act of taking a life. So the 40-minute time frame tells me that was somebody in there fulfilling a fantasy. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I think we're going to find out. And then it gets into Perhaps it was someone creating images that would have great value to very wealthy people who have the same type of morbid predilections. Remember what was said in some of the Epstein emails about torture videos, right? And I'm glad I didn't KILL somebody, but you changed my entire outlook on life. Remember that stuff, folks? I'm not saying anything that's not true. I'm not saying anything that hadn't happened in the past and been proven. The movie Silence of the Lambs did not come from someone's storytelling imagination. Okay? You think of what was happening in the movie Silence of the Lambs. A person who was driven to, create another skin for themselves. You know what I'm saying? That stuff goes on. Well, what I talked about, that Trump knows about, why he says he would destroy the cartels the same way he destroyed ISIS, namely blow them to hell. Because of many of the videos that they've released, I told you all not to look for, because they do things that are beyond what a decent mind could come up with. Something that people would have trouble accepting. And that's part of the catalog I'm talking about. There's catalogs of crimes that the average person, just like we were told in the CUE posts, if people knew everything, 90% would need psychiatric care. And I'm not saying this stuff to get you all upset or disturbed. I'm talking reality. It doesn't make sense that someone would kidnap somebody and wait 3 days to put out a ransom. It doesn't make sense that with all the traffic cams, satellites, all the information that they're able to gather, that they can't get anything on anything, except a guy who was delivering food and may have fit the profile. If they're not collecting digital data, if they don't have a lot of digital evidence, it means the person did not have digital items on his person. If they can't find evidence of a vehicle driving within a certain amount of miles of that property on those specific dates and times, it means the person was local. More than likely. I'm not saying totally. It could be, Miss Menderson, a very high-profile person who asked multiple times of Donald Trump about exactly what you're saying. Who's definitely part of the Mockingbird media. Somebody making fantastic amounts of money to help mold public perception. Roland, that's true. It doesn't make any sense. But I tell you, old people are set in their ways. They're set in their ways. And, they feel it's intrusive. But anyway, folks, those are things to think about. Speaking of old people, I went long tonight, didn't I? CC. Donald Trump posted this. He reposted this. He thought it was funny. Don't honk your horn at me. I have extra money to spend and know where I need to be. This is absolutely something I would do. However, I would give the extra food to someone who needed it. Donald Trump posted this video. I'm going to play for you all. I think you'll enjoy it. I hope I didn't rattle anybody's cage too much out there. But there are possibilities, nothing. This is not a cut and dry case. And it could be that it is so hard to solve that the person is so inept and does things unexpected because their actions are so stupid, they're unexpected. You don't expect people to be stupid. And that may be just exactly what we're looking at. You wouldn't expect that the person would take off on foot with somebody over their shoulder, go a quarter mile, half a mile. And then go back home on foot. So anyway, folks, you all enjoy this video. I want to thank you all for spending your precious time with me. Let's hope that there is a resolution for the mental well-being of the family and the public. Nobody wants to go to bed at night wondering, are there people that can get in my house and nobody, like a ghost, and nobody knows who they are? You got to think about reality. What people will do, especially what mentally ill, physically fit people are capable of. All right, folks. So enjoy this video. Thank you once again for going by Buy Me a Coffee, especially Miss Minder Sue. And Mac. And Roland. Is Roland still here? Where'd he go? But anyway, I want to give Miss Minder Sue a boom. I want to give everybody who went to buy me a coffee a boom. So anyway, folks, buy me a coffee, Mountain Man. I've got Donald Trump's silhouette in the bat signal. That's how you know it's mine. So anyway, folks, I should be going live tomorrow night. Maybe I'll just do a talking head because I got a lot I want to talk about. So you all have a great night. Enjoy the video. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
I did not expect this. Watch this.
I know I shouldn't have done this. I am 83 years old. I was in the McDonald's drive-thru this morning. The young lady behind me leaned on her horn and started mouthing some ugly things because I was taking too long to place my order. So when I got to the first window, I paid for her order along with my own. The cashier must have told her what I had done because as we moved up, she leaned out her window and waved to me. She began mouthing, thank you, probably feeling embarrassed that I had repaid her rudeness with kindness. When I got to the second window, I showed the server both receipts and I took her food too. Now she has to go back to the inn and start all over again. Don't blow your horn at old people. We've been around for a long time.